Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the live chat. We should be up, we should be going. It is great to see everyone. Hello, everyone. It's great to be back. Sorry there was no live chat at all, really, for a week, right? We haven't had one since the big Bethesda discussion. So sorry about that, everyone. There was a couple reasons for that. Let me get that out of the way really quick before we start getting into questions. So my work schedule has been crazy lately. I've been working a lot. There's been a whole lot going on at work. So that's been part of it. The other part of it is that I was on 3 different podcasts last week. So if anyone hasn't seen those and they'd like to go back and check those out, we had 3 different podcasts I was on. So I was on the Gaming Perspective podcast, I was on the Iron Lords podcast, and then I was on Seasoned Gaming's podcast. So yeah, you can go back, you can find any of those 3 podcasts if you haven't seen them yet. I want to thank everyone that had me out on those podcasts. We basically did a bunch of Bethesda talk and, next gen news talk. So yeah, you can go back and find those, but we're back and it is so good to be back on my own channel, my own YouTube with my own audience. So thanks everyone who's shown up. We can discuss really a little bit of anything today. There hasn't been any crazy big gaming news lately, so I don't know how today's turnout's going to be for the chat. I'm not expecting huge numbers. I'm not expecting a ton of people, but we're about a month out from next gen now. It's right around the corner, as crazy as that sounds. So we can talk about launch lineups. We can talk about the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S breakdowns that we've had, the hardware, really anything you want to talk about. Anyone that is new to this chat, basically the way it works, you either drop your comments and questions just right into chat, normal, completely for free. I hit as many as possible. I'll probably be able to get to most of the free questions today, I think, because I'm not expecting a big chat. So that is very cool. Otherwise, the other way, though, that you can guarantee that I answer your question is, of course, to use the Super Chat. Don't feel any obligation or any pressure to donate in Super Chat, but that is one way to guarantee I will absolutely hit your question is by doing a Super Chat. But yeah, we basically just break down the biggest gaming news in the industry and all of that goodness. I don't think there is any other housekeeping notes off the top that I can think of. So yeah, we should be good to go. We should be good to go, everyone. Let's start diving into those free questions. I think we had one super chat off the bat. So let me hit that super chat first before the free questions. Plastic Hearts Podcast with a $10 super chat. Thank you, Plastic Hearts. That is super kind of you. $10. Thank you so much. Hey, Benji boy, with Sony revealing 3D audio, working on regular headphones, what's the incentive to buy the Pulse? How is that tech working on stand headsets? So yeah, it sounds like a very wide range of headsets will be able to do the 3D audio just fine. Really any of the high tier headsets should be just fine with them. You don't have to go out and get Sony's own Pulse headset to get those advantages. You're going to be able to get them in just regular headsets. I think one thing that's kind of an incentive for the Pulse headset is that it's Sony branded. Some people really like to just have their headsets and controllers and charging stands and all that to be themed PlayStation. So that's one way. It's the official PlayStation one. The other way is that they might have some pre-set like audio set and audio levels. I know they've done that with the gold and platinum headsets on PlayStation before, so they may be doing that. I haven't done a ton of research on that, but they may be doing that with the next-gen PlayStation 5 Pulse headset as well. And so that's one other thing that could be cool if they're doing that, where they have specific audio setups for like their first-party games that they've designed specifically, to go with the Pulse. So that's another way that might be, but I would say that Plastic Hearts Podcast, it's not one of those things where it's like, oh, if you have a really good headset that will work on PS5, like, nope, you're just going to throw it in the trash and go get the Pulse. By no means, no. But, it is pretty cool. I think I'm actually going to buy the Pulse headset. Right now, I've got a Turtle Beach that I use on my PlayStation 4, and it comes unsynced a lot. So I'm hoping that's not an issue that will happen with the Pulse. because that is the downside. It sounds pretty good, but the particular Turtle Beach headset I have, like I said, it has major syncing problems. So hopefully the Pulse does not have that. Thank you so much for the super chat. All right, let's dive into some free questions. Killian Butler. Hey Benji, hope you're doing okay. Doing good. I had some sleeping problems, I'm not going to lie, for about 2 weeks. I had some really bad insomnia. But that seems to be over with now, sleeping much, much better. Thank you, Killian. Now that next-gen consoles are so close to launch, which company do you think has done the best job overall at marketing their new systems? Great question, Killian. Great question. So this is one that I feel like has gone back and forth, right? So there's been times that I've felt like Sony has been doing much better marketing than Microsoft. And then there's been times that I've felt like Microsoft has been doing much better than Sony. I know that's a bit of a, not a straight answer, right? It's easy to just say, oh, this company is for sure doing better than that one. But I think it's been a bit back and forth, really. If you go back to the Game Awards and the very first reveal of the Xbox Series X, I thought that was a home run. Hellblade looked amazing. And then you had, the first look at the console, which no one was expecting that far back to actually see the hardware. So out of the gate, it felt like Microsoft and Xbox were doing awesome with their marketing. But then you saw, I think really in that if I'm remembering right, I think it was May where they had that first gameplay showcase, and I felt like that kind of fell flat. And then you had Sony come in and have a really great PlayStation 5 game lineup reveal in their first show. So over the summer, I felt like Sony was doing better than Microsoft in marketing. But I'll tell you what, the last month, Killian, I think Microsoft has done much better in marketing than Sony. That's really just the last month. But I felt like their Series S show was really good, the way they presented that. I feel like they've just been really upfront with Game Pass and this Bethesda acquisition and things like that. So it's been a bit back and forth, Killian. It's hard for me to nail down exactly who's doing the best. But here's one thing I can say, Killian. One thing I really like is I feel like we haven't had either Sony or Microsoft have a colossal mess up in terms of messaging leading into next gen, right? We've had previous generations. Let's look at the current gen. The Xbox One reveal was just a hot mess, right? I think we can all agree with that. From the TV, sports first showing to the whole messaging that was coming from Don Matrick, where he was telling people, you don't need to buy an Xbox One, go, we have a 360 for you. All of that was just a disaster. Then you had the original PlayStation 3 reveal the gen before that, where it felt like Sony really mishandled the reveal, where their price was crazy high for the time, where they were saying things like go out and get a second job, all kinds of craziness. What I feel like going into next gen, the good thing is I feel like Microsoft and Sony have both really overall done a pretty great job of messaging their systems. I don't feel like either one has had this just terrible, game breaking thing. I think they're both set up pretty good, Killian. So hard for me to say 100% who's doing better in terms of marketing specifically, because like I said, I think it's kind of a seesaw. It's just going back and forth. All right, I think we have a super chat here. Let me hit that super chat really quick. JCat with a super chat. Thank you so much, JCat. Thank you for always being so supportive and being in almost every stream. Same thing to you, Killian Butler, who had a question right off the bat. Thank you so much. There's so many of you that are in every single stream. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it. Could you comment on Crash 4 sales? Yes, I was hoping someone would bring this up. 10K and number 5 in Japanese charts, number 1 in the UK charts, but physical sales 80% down from Crash Trilogy. Yes, JCat. So let's talk about this. This is actually something that I really wanted to talk about. So Crash 4 appears, at least it appears, is underperforming, honestly, JCat. So we first had the UK numbers come out, right? And it was number 1, but like you said, it was way down from the trilogy. I don't think it's actually that surprising that it opened less than the trilogy. I was kind of expecting that, and I think a lot of people were expecting that, just because the trilogy was remakes of like such beloved games, right? There were three complete classics many people grew up with. It had a great price point. It wasn't a full price game. So I wasn't shocked that that Crash 4 opened lower, but the surprising thing, JCat, was how much lower, right? Significantly less. And then, as you mentioned, 10K in 10,000 in Japan, which is about half of what the Insane Trilogy did. If I'm remembering correct, it was about 20,000 for the Insane Trilogy in Japan. So, and off the limited data I can see right now in the US, I don't want to extrapolate too much and say I can see everything in the US, but I can see quite a bit. From what I've seen in the US even, it does look like Crash 4 is underperforming a bit. So that raises the question, why, right? Why is Crash 4 underperforming? I have a couple theories on this. Number one is that the game is not in a great spot in terms of release date, because keep in mind, we are only 1 month away from next gen, so a lot of people are about to be spending a lot of money in only a month, right? In November, there are a lot of people that are going to be buying PlayStation 5s and Xboxes and Assassin's Creeds and, Cyberpunks and Call of Duties. I could go on and on. So I think that's part of it, not fully, but a part is a lot of people are like, hey, I have a month until next gen. I really don't want to go out and spend $60 on a game right now when I have so much I'm going to have to buy in a month. So I think that is part of it. The second part of it is I think the price differential to the Insane Trilogy, right? Insane Trilogy wasn't a $60 game and Crash 4 is. And I feel like part of that is, people feel like, I just spent a couple of years ago, $40 in the US on Insane Trilogy, and now I'm being asked to spend $20 more than that on, yes, it's a new game, but it's only one game. So the value perspective looks a little bit off there, right? I think people kind of got used to that $40 Crash, and that might be messing with it as well. So that's a couple reasons, I think. JCat, I wouldn't say Crash 4 is like doomed or anything like that yet. Let's see how legs are, because I theorize, JCat, that Crash 4 is one of those games that as the price comes down and as it gets like next gen, I'm assuming they'll probably have a next gen patch for it, or even if not, the new consoles are backwards compatible. I think Crash 4 might be a game that sees pretty strong legs, especially, like I said, once it hits like that $40 price, the way the Insane Trilogy was. So I wouldn't call Crash 4 for sure like, oh, it's doomed. The franchise is doomed now. But yes, it does look like the opening is underperforming. Yeah. Thank you for the super chat. Rang Tolu. Hello, Rang. Hi, Benji. Prediction for PS5's first fiscal year. I predict 10 million compared to 7.5 million PS4. Rang Tolu, I'm right with you. 10 million is what I'm feeling. I think you're spot on with that. That is really what I'm expecting as well. 10 million for the fiscal year. So by the end of March, I think that makes sense, right? We've had Sony themselves, we've had Jim Ryan himself come out and say that they are expecting to sell more PlayStation 5s the first fiscal year than PS4. So that means also manufacturing is for sure going to be higher, right? Because the only way you forecast you're going to sell more is you're, of course, manufacturing more. So I think 10 million sounds about right, Ryan. I'm with you. I think your prediction's spot on there. Forzathon. Hey, Benji, realistically, how many companies do you see coming back to E3 2021 if it does take place? Great question, Forzathon. E3 and really trade shows in general are such a huge question right now, right? So let me compare this to what's happening in the movie industry. And this might sound weird, right? You might be like, Benji, why would you compare a random trade show to movie theaters? Because I think there actually is a little bit of overlap about what's happening right now. So what we're seeing in the movie industry is that even when a big new movie comes out, Tenet, for example, right? A lot of people still aren't going to the theater, even if there's a big movie out, and even if theaters in your area are open. And a big reason for that is people still, just don't trust going into enclosed areas with a lot of people, right? There's still a lot of people, regardless of how they feel about masks or, all of this debate online. The proof is in the pudding, and a lot of people, outdoor events are a bit of a different thing, but indoors, it definitely seems like a lot of people still don't want to be closed in with a lot of people in a small space. And whenever you talk about a trade show, right, something like E3, you're talking about way more people indoors than a movie, right? People are a little nervous to go to a movie where they might be with a crowd of 100 in a room. You go to a trade show and you're talking thousands. Yes, you're in a much bigger room, but you're still talking thousands and thousands of people crammed inside. And I think a lot of people are still very nervous about that, really don't want to go through something like that and risk COVID. So here's what I'll say, Forzathon. If there is a good vaccine, right, which we right now have no idea if that's going to happen or not, but if there's a good vaccine by, let's say early 2021, that might help things. But if there's not, right, if we're still trying to figure out what else is going on, I don't think E3 2021 attendance would be high at all, both from media and from, E3 sells tickets now to get, consumers in the door. So Forzathon, right now, I would say the outlook for E3 2021 looks bad. Yeah, I don't see a ton of companies coming back, especially in 2021. Maybe 2022 if E3 can survive, in some way until then. I think things might be a little more back to normal by then, so you might see a lot. But yeah, Forzathon, I hate to say it because I feel like the industry really needs E3. I do. I genuinely think that. I really missed not having an E3 this year. But yeah, not looking good. E3 is expensive to put on. And if these companies don't feel like they're going to get much bang for their buck by having very few, very low turnout and things like this, I don't see a lot of companies going out and spending all of that money for like no turnout. So yeah, not looking good, Forzathon, in my opinion. We have a super chat here. 2 super chats. Thank you. Split End 89, the best mod in the business, saying just wanted to give you money. You the man, dude. Split End 89. Thank you so much. Shout out everyone to Split End 89 for always moderating the chat. Split End's a great guy. Let me tell you, I talked to Split End, plenty outside of just the stream, and Split End is a great person. So thank you very much, man. Kellegrim saying I'll do the same, LOL. Thank you, Kellegrim, for the super chat as well. Super kind of you, Kellegrim. You're a homie. Thank you so much, man. And then Benji here with a super chat as well. Thank you everyone for the super chats in a row. Really appreciate it. Saying, hi Benji, what's the reasoning for third-party devs to delay Switch releases? Is it wise? Maybe the hype is gone once the game arrives on Switch. It's a great question, Benji, and I think there's actually some really good reasons for this. So I think for devs, right, the thing you're prioritizing for a lot of third parties, not all, but for a lot, I would say especially Western third parties, is that PlayStation, Xbox, and PC, the versions are going to be fairly similar on these games, right? Yes, there's going to be differences. Yes, there's going to be, a difference between, there's not going to be an exact one-to-one. The PlayStation and the Xbox are identical, right? There are going to be slight differences, but they're all pretty darn close. With Switch, it takes actually a lot more resources in some ways to get the Switch version out because you're going to have to change things quite a bit, right? If you look at something like The Witcher, for example, it's awesome that it runs on Switch, but they did have to make a lot of cutbacks, a lot of work behind it. So I think for a lot of third parties, you only have so many resources, so you're prioritizing the ones that are kind of similar because you're all on the same trajectory. You can kind of do those 3 versions simultaneously, and the Switch can be worked on after that once you get those versions up and running, especially because most games, even from third parties, are going to sell more on Xbox, PlayStation, and PC than they're going to on Switch. Now, there are some definite examples of that aren't necessarily true. For example, indie games and also games from Japan, right? A lot of those do put Switch as a high priority because for an indie game, you probably have to make less cutbacks to be on Switch because most of those aren't pushing the limits of visuals and things like this. And also in Japan, Switch has a gigantic presence in Japan. I mean, it's completely dominating, even PlayStation in Japan. It's just not even close. So if you're a Japanese company, it makes sense to prioritize the Switch because you're in your home market, it's completely dominating. So I think that's a big part of it. Benji, I don't think it's one of those things where it's like people think of Switch as an afterthought. I think it's one of those things that, like I said, you're trying to prioritize the ones that are most similar that are going to sell well, and then hopefully the Switch helps out in the end. But I agree that if you delay too long, it can hurt the game. Yes, on the Switch specifically, it can hurt demand. Like, for example, let's talk about Doom Eternal, right? That's still supposedly coming to Switch. I'm very curious how that sells on Switch because it's going to be so much later, right? It's going to be so much later. Thank you for the super chat, Benji. And then Ralph Muster with a super chat. There might be next-gen console shortages, but there won't be any shortage of super chats. Thank you so much, Ralph. Thank you so much. Very kind of you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Yeah, next-gen console shortages are definitely going to be a thing this year. I'll be very curious, if we still see this in 2021 shortages. I have no idea how that's going to go. But yeah, November and December, I think for both the Xbox and the PlayStation 5, you're going to see big shortages, especially I would say like in the US and the UK. There's probably going to be some markets where Xbox doesn't have crazy shortages because it just isn't as in high of demand. But yeah, places like the US, and the UK, you're going to see crazy shortages on both, at least this year. Thank you, everyone, for the super chats. All right, let me go back to some of the free questions here. Ryan Tolu. Also considering Switch's recent trend, I'm thinking it'll become the biggest console of all time in terms of sales. Thoughts? What a great question, Ryan. So it's definitely going to be really big. The biggest of all time is tough because the PS2 was such a juggernaut. But here's what I'll say, Ryan. I mean, it's going to go over 120 million. So, man, here's what I'll say, Ryan. I don't think it's crazy to make that prediction, to say it'll be the best of all time in terms of sales. I'm not quite there with you yet, because there's so many unknowns still, right? We don't necessarily know how next gen launches will impact Switch. My hunch is that it won't hurt Switch really much at all because Switch is really a very different demographic of what it's trying to sell than what a PlayStation 5 and a Series X is. But, I do want to leave that room out there to kind of look and see what happens with that. And then we also don't know when exactly Switch is going to Nintendo's going to replace the current Switch. Again, my hunch is probably not for another couple years, right? They've only said it's about halfway through its lifetime, but they still have price drops in the wings and things like that. So, Ryan, I totally get why you think that. I don't think it's impossible that happens. Right now, I'm going to go just a bit under you. I don't think it quite matches PS2, but I won't be shocked if it does happen. Yeah. Forzathon. Also, do you think we will see Halo Infinite multiplayer gameplay this year, or do you think that game's entire marketing campaign has shifted to next year? Forzathon, I think next year. I don't think you're going to see anything from Halo Infinite for the rest of this year. I really don't. I think, and here's why, Forzathon. I think whenever Microsoft finally does show Halo again and 343, they want to make sure it looks really good. Keep in mind, the last reveal, the backlash on that was very intense, right? It wasn't one of those things that was just an online bubble. Sometimes we see, drama that's really just in a small bubble. It's just a couple people online and like enthusiast forums that think this, but this was a lot bigger, right? I feel like almost everyone, I'm a huge Halo fan, I mean, anyone that knows me knows I love Halo. Halo is one of my favorite gaming franchises of all time. And even I was very disappointed in the way Halo Infinite looked. So I'm pretty sure when Microsoft does show this again, they want to make sure it looks really freaking good. And we only saw Halo Infinite a couple months ago. So my thought, Forzathon, marketing cycles completely shifted to next year, and when they do show it, they're going to make sure, hey, this is going to deliver, in my opinion. So yeah, I'd be shocked if you see it this year. I think we just had 2 super chats drop. Let me hit those really quick. Forzathon with a super chat. Thank you, Forzathon. Seems like EA has just ignored Star Wars Squadrons. It's a solid game that didn't get much of a marketing push, no next-gen versions, and no post-launch support. Why do you think that is? It's a good question, Forzathon. Here's my theory on this. I think that this game actually might be doing a little bit better than what EA thought. I know that sounds kind of surprising, but the reviews for it were pretty solid, and especially, I would say, not critic reviews so much, but from random, like, you know, just average gamers. I'm seeing a ton of people on Twitter and like people that I've been on podcasts with and stuff, for example, saying that they really enjoyed Star Wars Squadrons. I think EA might have been a little afraid that this game was going to really under deliver in terms of expectations, right? Because it is just kind of a, you know, flight game. It's not a big AAA flagship giant, you know, game. It does feel a little bit smaller, and I think it might be doing, I don't know for sure on sales yet, right? We need to see a lot more on sales, but I think at least critically, it might be doing a little bit better than they thought. So let's see, Forzathon. I won't be surprised if that changes, especially if sales start to line up with people's impressions. You might see EA put a little bit more effort behind it. But I think Star Wars Squadrons was in a bit of a dangerous spot, exactly like how I mentioned with Crash 4 earlier, where the game was coming out in not an ideal time frame, right? It's coming out right before next gen, and that is a dangerous spot to launch a game. Because like I said, so many people are spending so much money in only a month. So that could be part of it too. Maybe they didn't want to put a ton of marketing behind it, because what if this game completely bombed, launching right before next gen? So yeah. But like I said, from what I'm seeing, people like it. So hopefully that reflects in sales, and then you do see them put a little more effort in this later on. And then Timmer72299 with the super chat. Thank you, Timmer. Thank you for your great work as always on Twitter. Hi, Benji. EA was one of the bidders for Zenimax. What are your thoughts on this? What positives and negatives? Here's what I'll say, Timmer. I'm really glad EA did not get Zenimax. And I'm not saying that as a EA hater, but what I am saying is I feel like EA had a really bad generation, to be honest with you. And that's kind of controversial in some ways, because in terms of like investing, in terms of like money, right? EA made a ton of money this generation. They made a ton. They made a killing on, you know, FIFA Ultimate Team and things like this. But really, Timmer, their sports franchises carried them this generation. If you look outside of sports, they did have some successes, right? Battlefield 1 would be a great example. That game did great. But then if you look at Battlefield 5, not so much. Star Wars Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, right here at the end of the generation, was a big success for them. But for long chunks of this generation, EA had a lot of misses. I mean, a lot outside of sports titles. They, you know, the Dead Space franchise disappeared. Mirror's Edge, they made a sequel that just didn't sell well. You know, I could go on and on. Outside of sports, sports hit home runs for them. But I'm very glad they didn't get Zenimax. I see why they tried to acquire them, because as I mentioned, outside of sports, they really had, I mean, let's look at BioWare, right? Dragon Age Inquisition did well, but Anthem did not. Mass Effect Andromeda did not. I mean, seriously, EA had probably the most misses of any of the big publishers, really. I mean, if I look at Activision and Ubisoft and Take-Two and 2K, like, they didn't have as many hardcore, just complete misses on the market as EA did. So I think EA kind of knows they need to put out more games that are going to perform well. And I think that was one reason why they were really interested in Zenimax, because they wanted something that can bolster their lineup outside of sports. But I just don't trust them right now, right? Outside of sports games, I would say they're on the right trajectory now. This last year or two, they have improved. Jedi Fallen Order did amazing. You see Vince moving up in the company. So I feel like they're moving in the right way, but I think Microsoft is going to probably do a lot better with ZeniMax than EA did. And then another super chat here from Kellegrim. Thank you so much for the super chat, Kellegrim. Thank you, man. Do you expect to see a BioWare-made Star Wars game next gen? Ooh, this is a good question. EA hasn't used them for that Star Wars contract, even though Knights of the Old Republic is one of the most beloved Star Wars RPGs. Kellegrim, it's a great question. I'll say it's not impossible, but BioWare does seem pretty busy right now, right? So they're making Dragon Age, whatever. We don't really know what it's called yet, but it's the next generation Dragon Age. We know that they are doing a remaster of the Mass Effect trilogy, the old school Mass Effect games. And there is another new Mass Effect, a next-gen Mass Effect in early development as well. That has been confirmed from people like Jason Schreier, that there is a whole new Mass Effect that is also in the works. So, Kellegrim, BioWare right now seems very busy to me. I would love to see them do a next-generation, Knights of the Old Republic or RPG, something like that. But I would say, if it does happen, I think it's not going to be until probably pretty late into next gen, because I just think they're really tied up right now with Dragon Age and Mass Effect. And actually, there's a group at BioWare that are reworking Anthem, right? There's that Anthem 2.0 that's in the works. So I just don't think they have the resources right now to make a Star Wars game. I just think that BioWare's way too busy with projects. So it might happen, Kellegrim, but I would say don't expect that sort of thing for probably 6 years, right? 5-6 years. I think it's pretty far away if they do that. All right, back to some free questions. Shiva Sriram. Hi, Benji. Xbox has stated they're starting their big marketing push tomorrow. Ooh, I missed this. What do you think they should do to have the best possible momentum going into launch? Shiva, I will say actually just continue what they've been doing the last month. They have been extremely transparent. They've been really focusing on, hey, Game Pass, this is what makes Game Pass amazing. EA, Play is now part of Game Pass, or it's about to be. Now you're going to have all these Bethesda games. Here's the biggest thing they need to do, Shiva. They need to show games running on the Xbox Series X. We still have not seen hardly anything actually running on the hardware. Most of the footage we've had for Xbox Series X games are on PC, and it says targeting Xbox Series X specs. But we have still seen very little directly running on the machine. So that's what I would say, Shiva. Keep doing most of what they've been doing this last month, but they need to show games on the actual Xbox, which it sounds like they're probably going to do, but that's the biggest thing missing right now for their marketing. Samad here. Hey, Benji. Since Shuhei Yoshida is your Twitter friend, oh yeah, I know, how cool is that? I don't know if he's unfollowed me. I really hope he hasn't. I haven't checked. But yeah, anyone that doesn't know, Shuhei Yoshida from Twitter follows me. I really hope he still does. I'll be honest, before I finish your thing here, I usually, whenever like a really big Twitter person follows me, someone I look up to, I like purposefully don't check if they still follow me, because it would hurt me too much if they unfollow. I'm very lucky. A lot of really big people follow me on there, right? Like people like Greg Miller follow me on there, and a lot. I could go on and on. Aaron Greenberg, right? I'm very, very lucky in that regard that so many big people on Twitter follow me. But I rarely check their profiles to see if that's still the case, because I know if I would click on Shuei Yoshida's Twitter and he unfollowed me, it would hurt. I'd be like, dang. But I would totally understand it, right? It's not one of those things I would hold against anyone for unfollowing me because, sometimes maybe my content isn't as exciting as it is for some people. So I wouldn't hold it against anyone, but man, I don't even look. But then you were saying reach out to him for your Indian followers and get us release date and price for the PS5. Sony India has been silent. Yes, Samad, I'm so sorry to hear that. I've had so many people from India reaching out to me asking what is going on. Why is PlayStation 5 still got so few details in India? I'm so sorry about this, Samad. I don't have the exact info around why that's happening. I will try to reach out to Sony people and find out. I don't want to bug anyone too much, right? I don't want to annoy anyone over this sort of thing. But I do think it's important that people in India get the information they need, right? I know that India has a lot of really big PlayStation fans. I know this because y'all reach out to me like crazy, right? That shows passion, that shows interest. So yes, I will do what I can, Samad. I can't make any big promises that I can for sure get any of you that information, but I'll do what I can. And then a follow-up saying from Samad, when do you think we will see the PS5 UI? Hopefully soon. I'm surprised we still haven't, especially because we just had that like hardware teardown and everything, right? I thought that might have been a prime time to show it right alongside you do the hardware teardown and then you see the UI next to it. Or we just had the YouTubers in Japan that just got hands-on with the PS5, but it seemed very controlled and there was no UI stuff there. So Samad, hopefully soon. I mean, it comes out next month. So maybe Sony themselves don't see it as like a huge priority, but I know clearly a lot of people do want to see it because people are posting about it all the time. So I would say hopefully sometime in the next couple of weeks, but with Sony, who knows? Who knows? All right, I think we had another super chat drop. Let me hit that. And thank you everyone for the turnout. For not a super busy news week, we've had a pretty solid turnout today. So thank you everyone who's come into the chat. I didn't know how it would go, right? There really hasn't been any explosive news stories like we've had, last week, for example. Benji, why is Sony focused on Japan for PS5 hands-on and teardown? I don't know. This is weird. Is Japan a bigger focus? Is this linked to rumors that Final Fantasy 16 is coming earlier than expected? Benji, this is very weird to me. This is really weird. So you'll hear some people say, well, Sony is a Japanese company, so it makes sense why they would prioritize Japan. But the actual answer to that is not really, especially the PlayStation division. They're not run like a Japanese company at all anymore. I mean, like I said, especially the PlayStation division. Sony is, yes, they are a Japanese company. Their headquarters is in Japan. But basically, the people in charge at PlayStation, it's all focused on the West primarily. I mean, if you look at who the highest up people there are there, they're people from the West, right? You do still have Yoshida there, but he's moved down, into more of like an indies level, which is cool. I'm still very happy to see him there. But the people highest up, the people like the Jim Ryans and things like this, they're out of the West. So they're really running it like a Western company. So I am surprised to see that we have had essentially no, Western hands-on impressions. It's very weird to me. Very weird that Japan got such a big focus. One thing I can think of is that, the PlayStation 4 didn't do fantastic in Japan. It wasn't like a complete bomb. It basically has been neck and neck with the PS3 most of the generation, right? Basically, PS4 and PS3 performed very, very similarly in terms of hardware sales in Japan. Whereas in the West, PlayStation 4 completely dominated the PS3 in terms of sales in places like US and Europe. So one thing I can think, Benji, is maybe they kind of think that the West is locked in. Like they think US is going to be a huge success. They think Europe's going to be a huge success. And they think Japan is the market that's most at risk of PlayStation 5 not doing as well. So they're kind of putting resources into that market to make sure that they don't completely lose it. That's the only thing I can think of, Benji, because yes, outside of that, It just doesn't make much sense. Let me grab a drink really quick. And then Killian Butler with the super chat and a really nice comment here saying, don't forget to leave a like on the stream, guys. Thank you so much, Killian. I'm not one of those YouTubers that's constantly spamming people to like my videos, but if you do like doing these chats, make sure you hit the like button because it does help, you know, my channel and my videos get discovered with the YouTube algorithm. So thank you so much, Killian. All right, let's go back up to some of these free questions. Costas. Hey Benji, sales predictions for Spider-Man, Miles Morales, Demon Souls, and Godfall, having Killzone 2.1 million 3 months as a benchmark. Ooh, this is fun. Okay, so Spider-Man, Miles Morales, I think is going to sell probably, you know, it is cross-gen, so it's going to get PS4 sales as well. I think it, ooh, man, this is hard. Over 10 million for sure for Miles Morales. It depends on how good it is. If it's really good, I won't be shocked if it can hit 15 million. This isn't as big of a game as Spider-Man PS4 was, right? We all know that. It's not a DLC, but it's not Spider-Man 2. So I would still be surprised if it matches Spider-Man 1's sales, right? That game is on track to sell over 20 million units, right? I don't think Miles Morales is going to hit over 20 million. You never know. It could happen, but I just don't think so. Over 10 million, I would say, is a lock. I'd think that's a complete lock. And 15 million range is possible, depending on quality, right? If it's really, really good, I think it can get there. But I don't see it under any scenario selling less than 10 million. I would be shocked if that happened. Demon Souls... Whew. I'm going to peg Demon Souls at 3 to 5 million sales, somewhere in that range. I don't think this is going to be the crazy breakout that some people think, where it's going to sell 10 million units. I'd be really surprised if Demon Souls sold that much, because if you look at games like Bloodborne, which was exclusive, and Demon Souls is also exclusive, you know, Sekiro, for example, on multiple platforms has sold 5 million, but that's on PC, it's on Xbox, it's on PlayStation. So 3 to 5 million feels right for Demon Souls for me. So I'll say 3 to 5 million there. Godfall to me is a complete unknown, Costas. Because I've literally no idea what that game's going to be like in terms of quality, right? I mean, that game could be a big success. It could be really, really good, or it could be a complete miss, right? Because especially like a online multiplayer type game like that. So Costas, as a total guess, I mean, this is, like I said, this is literally like taking a dart, closing your eyes and just throwing it at a board, because we know nowhere near enough about Godfall. There's no precedent to compare it to, you know, it being a new IP and everything. I'll say a few million, you know, maybe 2 or 3 million or something like that. Who knows? This might look hilarious in retrospect. Maybe Godfall ends up being amazing and it's the next Destiny. You know, who knows? But I'm not expecting something like that. So I'll just say a few million for Godfall. I think it's definitely going to be a million seller. I just don't know how many millions, right? All right, I think we had 2 super chats drop. Let me hit those super chats. Timmer, 72299. Thank you so much, Timmer, again with a second super chat. Do you see another publisher being bought by a console maker? Yes. If so, who? Now, the who is the hard part about this, Timmer. But yes, I don't think Bethesda will be the only publisher to be acquired. I think another one's going to happen. Who is tough? Here's what I'll say. I do not see EA happening. I do not see Activision happening. I do not see Take-Two happening. And I do not see Ubisoft happening. You never know. Those all, though, to me feel very big, very difficult to acquire someone that large. Not impossible, especially I would say for like Microsoft, right? I mean, Microsoft has unbelievable resources when they want to throw it around. We just saw that with Zenimax, right? They just dropped over $7 billion and acted like it was almost nothing. If anyone saw any of Satya Nadella's like interviews with this, he acted like it wasn't even a big deal to spend $7 billion. He was just like, yeah, we might do more of these. Like, he didn't be like, he wasn't like, oh man, this is a game changer. Yes, it's a giant, purchase, and we put a lot into this, but we feel like it's probably going to pay off. He was just like, yep, we thought it was good for the gaming division, and we might do more. So that shows you the kind of money Microsoft can spend when they want to. Sony, to me, seems tough to buy someone because I feel like they would probably look at a Japanese publisher, and I feel like Capcom and Square Enix would be the most attractive offers there, and I feel like both of those would also be hard to acquire. So Timur, I would say the ones that are most likely wouldn't be one of these giant publishers, but maybe someone like Techland, maybe someone like THQ Nordic, these sort of companies would be the ones. Those would be the ones that I feel like would be the most likely. That level, right? Not specifically those two, but those maybe Focus Interactive, those kinds of publishers. I'd be surprised though if you saw. I would say these are the ones that would shock me. I already listed the other four, Square Enix and Capcom. All of those six. I guess that's six, right? EA, Activision, Take-Two, Ubisoft, Square Enix, Capcom. Those six to me feel almost impossible that they'll happen. You never know. Someone could do something crazy, but I think those six are unreachable. But somebody else, yeah. Someone else I think will be acquired, but it'll probably be a smaller publisher. Kelligrim with the super chat. Just checked. Shuhei Yoshida still follows you. Oh my goodness. I cannot tell you how amazing that is. That makes me so happy. I feel like all the time, I like many content creators and people on Twitter are always really harsh on my own stuff, right? All the time I think I'm doing terrible and I think I'm posting dumb stuff and that people don't like the things I post. I think a lot of content creators feel that way though. I feel like a lot of us are really harsh. So all the time I just assume that these big people that follow me only follow me for like a month and then unfollow. So thank you, Shuhei Yoshida, for still following me. That's amazing. Forzathon with a super chat. Thank you so much for the turnout today, guys. Thank you so much. Really didn't expect to have such a good turnout today. When do you see the first Bethesda Xbox game? Do you think it will be Starfield or something earlier, given Bethesda's history of short marketing cycles? Forzathon, I think the first one will be Starfield, and I think that game is coming holiday 2021. I think that game's closer than some people think. Some of the things recently that Todd Howard has stated and things like that are making me think that Starfield isn't this game that's like 5 years away. I think that game is coming holiday 2021. So basically a full year from now. I don't think it's going to be something else. I think it's Starfield. One thing that I really noticed that Todd Howard said in that interview where it was him, Phil Spencer, Major Nelson, and Pete Hines. One thing that really caught my eye in this interview was Todd Howard said, when they kind of commented on Starfield and they were talking about this, he said, you know me, I like to wait as long as possible to show a game. I want to show a game, right basically before launch, as close as we can. Look at Fallout 4, right? That game didn't get announced and shown officially until like 6 months before launch, right? That didn't show up until E3, and that game came out in November. We all knew it existed, but it didn't get officially revealed that way. So what that kind of implied to me is that Todd was basically saying, yeah, if they wanted to, Starfield's probably in a state they could show it if they wanted, but he doesn't want to yet. He wants to hold it until, it's pretty close to launch. So yeah, I think that's their holiday 2021 game, and I think we'll probably see it officially revealed sometime next summer. I think they're going to do the exact same thing they did with Fallout, maybe a little earlier, right? Fallout didn't get its big blowout until June, but that's my guess. I also won't be shocked though if Starfield is later than that, but that's my guess for it. Starfield holiday 2021. All right, super chats are cleared for now. Thank you for all these super chats, everyone. You are amazing. I'm also glad I'm able to hit a lot of free questions today. That makes me glad that I'm able to hit a lot of those. Some of these super chats, which I appreciate, y'all, they're amazing. But occasionally there's so many super chats I can't hit any free questions. But we've gotten to quite a few free questions today too, which makes me feel good. KH, hey Benji, some numbers for hardware in September. How is Switch hardware doing? Great. So Switch hardware, I feel, is going to be higher than it was in August. And August was already a great month, K. You know, you saw Switch do, I mean, Switch has done literally amazing every single month this year. But September's looking to be a bigger number than August was, I think. It's not going to be like 1 million units or anything like that, I don't think. But better than August, and August was already really good. PS4 seems pretty stable. PS4, I think, is just kind of selling. So if you look at what it sold in August, I would say it's probably going to be pretty comparable to that. And Xbox hardware is very low. Very low. Costas, how much do you think Uncharted Lost Legacy has sold? Did it top Uncharted 1 at 5 million? Costas, I actually have no idea on this one. This is a game specifically I have never received any large-scale data for. So I have no idea how much Lost Legacy has sold. I would say 5 million probably sounds pretty good, right? Probably around there, I would think, especially when you saw how big Uncharted 4 was and how successful it was. And Lost Legacy was the direct, you know, it's not like a sequel, but it was the next Uncharted game directly after how 4 blew up. So I wouldn't be surprised at all, Costas, if it was in that 5 million range. I just don't know that for sure, but I could see that. Yeah, I could see that. And especially because it was very well received too, right? So I could definitely see that. Batwing. Hello, Benji. Do you think titles like Spider-Man 3 and Horizon 3 will be cross-gen releases on PS5 if the PS6 launches in 2025? And these titles release in the same year, or do you think it will be PS6 only? Well, Batwing, and then you have a follow-up here. Meaning, could Sony listen to the negative feedback they got for releasing cross-gen games like Spider-Man, Horizon, West, or would they continue their cross-gen tradition? Well, Batwing, I don't think PS6 is going to come until 2026 or later. So I think we're looking at another 6-year generation here. And I think we'll have Spider-Man 3 is the good question. Horizon 3, I think we'll get for sure on PS5 because Horizon Forbidden West right now is targeting 2021. I don't think there will be a PS6 on the market 4 years after that. I could be wrong, but I'm not, like I said, I'm not expecting PlayStation 6 in 2025. So I think that Horizon 3 won't even be cross-gen. It's just going to be a PlayStation 5 game. I don't even think that's going to be on PS6, except for like through backwards compatibility. But I think that's just straight up a PS6 or a PS5 game. Spider-Man 3, though, that's a great question because that probably is an actual PlayStation 6 or PlayStation 5 cross-gen game because let's look at Spider-Man's release trajectory, right? Miles Morales is this year. We know Spider-Man 2 is not 2021 because I feel like 2021 is basically locked down, right? They've announced God of War. They've announced Horizon. So you're not going to see Spider-Man 2 until the soonest in 2022, right? That would be the soonest it's going to get out. So you got to think it's going to take another 3 or 4 years after that, probably 4, if it's late 2022. So that does put it into cross-gen territory. Batwing, I will say Spider-Man 3 is cross-gen, yes. I will say that is a cross-gen PS5, PS6 game, probably. I don't think it'll be PS6 only. And Horizon 3, I think, will only be on PS5. Kellegrim saying, I haven't been on Twitter in a minute and almost missed this. Well, I'm glad you're here, Kellegrim. I'm glad you're here. You haven't missed much on Twitter. It's been a lot of drama. A lot of drama on Twitter lately. All right. Let me hit. So I have to call an end to this chat in about 15 minutes. I'm still going to hit questions. I got about 15 minutes left in the tank, and then I got to get ready for work, everyone. Kieran Buckley. Hi, Benji. How do you see the Xbox Series S lifetime sales compared to the Series X? Will the X sell more or the S because of the $300 price tag? This is a fascinating question. So we know in terms of pre-orders that the Series X is definitely outselling the S. I don't think that's too shocking though, because most of the people that go out and pre-order a console before it's even out are pretty darn hardcore, right? I mean, you're locked in. If you're doing a console pre-order, that means you know when it's coming out. And believe it or not, there's still a lot of people that don't really know when these consoles are coming out. They know it's, this year, but they couldn't really tell you a date. So that means you're doing that. You're putting your money down up front. You are hyped, basically, if you're out pre-ordering a console. Not many of your quote casual or broad gamers are going to be doing pre-orders. So it makes sense to me why the X would be a lot higher demand than the S right now. But Series S is the kind of product I could see doing really big numbers during holidays. So Kieran, my guess here is that Series X is going to be the console that you see primarily probably sell the most between the two during a lot of months of the year, right? During just your average random summer months, things like this. But I think each holiday, so every holiday period we go into, November and December, you're going to see Series S outsell the X during the holidays, because that's really when a lot of gift givers get in, when a lot of people look for deals, things like this. So how it'll shake out exactly between the two, I'm not 100% sure. I think they'll actually be kind of close, like a 60-40 split maybe, either way, either 60-40 for the S or 60-40 for the X. But I think it'll also depend on the time period. Like I said, holidays especially, I think S will definitely outsell X. Benji. Hi, Benji. We're 1 month from next-gen launch, and we have barely seen next-gen footage from third-party devs. NBA 2K just recently. Why? Isn't that affecting potential sales? It's a great question. I'm hoping we're going to see more. Aaron Greenberg just stated in a PR release earlier this week that sometime this month, Microsoft is going to show more launch, games. Like they said, gameplay for launch games. So, Benji, my guess is that COVID, the whole pandemic really screwed things up, and that, companies are coming down kind of to the wire on the polishing stage. From what I have heard from some third parties, is that the limit, like the cutoff date for launch games for going gold, is mid-October. So we're pretty close now, right? Basically, if you're going to be a launch game, from what I've been told, like I said, I cannot guarantee that this is fact, but I have had actual developers tell me this. Basically, mid-October. Mid-October is the cutoff date. If you want to go at launch day, you need to be gold by mid-October. So I would think that's part of it, Benji. You're probably going to see, yes, a lot of gameplay now in the next couple weeks because games are going to be going gold. For example, we just saw Cyberpunk go gold. And now I think Bugsnax just announced that it went gold. So makes sense, right? If you notice, everyone's going gold right now because, like I said, devs told me that is the cutoff date, mid-October. So I think you'll see a lot more soon. Benji saying, another question here from Benji. Any chance Sony misses its production and shipments targets to surpass the PS4? I don't think so, Benji. Production seems like it's up and fine now. A lot of these consoles are basically being made in China, and China seems to be good to go. They don't seem to be really having any issues at all. So, no, I don't think so. Production itself, I don't think is going to be an issue at all. Like you said, shipment, like the shipment chain is the thing most at risk. More than the actual making of the consoles, actually shipping them. But we know Sony is going to be doing like air flights of carrying PlayStation 5s and stuff. So I don't think so, Benji. I think that they're in a pretty good spot that they're not going to miss. Couch asked about Crash 4 sales. We hit on that earlier. Split End saying, Benji, how about those Bug Snacks? Yes, I'm excited. Bug Snacks looks silly and fun. I like it's only a $25 game, right? It's not this big, crazy, expensive game. As long as it gets decent reviews, I'm definitely in. I'll play some Bug Snacks. It looks like a good time. Gyaume K saying, hey, what is up, Gyaume? Sounds PP7. What are your thoughts on MK11 Ultimate? I'm excited for this, actually. I think it's nice that it's getting a free next-gen upgrade after the controversy surrounding games like Control. Silence PP7, totally agree. The next-gen upgrade for free is sweet. I like that it includes the entire original game as well as the Aftermath expansion. It's going to have all the DLC characters. Silence PP7, I'm going to buy it. So I bought MK11 back when it launched, and I didn't play with any of the DLC characters. I haven't played the Aftermath story expansion. I just played regular MK11. That game is sick. I mean, it is an amazing fighting game. But I haven't played those DLC characters, haven't played the expansion. The fact that it's going to get a free next-gen upgrade, yeah, I'm definitely going to buy Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate. I'm very glad to see that. I think it's a heck of a package. If you like fighting games at all, I mean, even a little bit, and you haven't played MK11, highly recommended. This is a great package. Christopher Peralta here with a really nice comment. No questions from me. Just hope everyone has a great rest of the week. I hope you do too, Christopher. Thank you for the positive vibes. I know I appreciate it. I know everyone in chat appreciates it. That is awesome. Thank you. Thank you for the kind comment. All right, I'm going to pull some questions from the bottom now. Right before we head out. We've got about 10 minutes, so I want to hit anyone that came into chat late. So I am going to hit up these bottom of the chat questions before we head out. Zid here with a great question. Thoughts on Series X recapturing 360 players who went to PS4? Zid, I do think there's going to be some of that. I've tweeted this out before. I saw Matt Piscatella from MPD also tweeted this out. I think that next gen is going to have a lot of cross ownership between PlayStation 5 and Xbox, more so than this current gen had, for a couple reasons. PlayStation's first party is just so darn good that I feel like a lot of people are going to buy PS5s no matter what, because they want to play Spider-Man, they want to play Horizon, they want to play God of War, so you're kind of already guaranteeing that PlayStation is going to have just a freaking ton of sales. But Xbox, to me, feels like they're in so much better of a position than the Xbox One was when it launched, right? Game Pass has become just an absolutely amazing service. I think that's going to pull a lot of people in, Game Pass specifically, especially as it just keeps going up and up in the amount of content you get in it. So I think you're going to see a lot of people buy Series S's that have PlayStation 5s to also get in on that Game Pass goodness. We know that Microsoft is going to eventually, yes, it's still probably going to be a little while, but eventually they're going to have a ton of games coming from their first party. If you look at the sheer number of studios they have now, and with the Bethesda purchase, you're going to see a lot of that too. So Zid, I think you're going to see definitely some people that completely skipped Xbox One, that had 360s, that are going to buy Series X's. Yeah, I do think there's going to be a degree of that for sure. Chris Bernou, it's crazy that Shuhei thought Demon's Souls was a failure before it came out on PS3, but now it's the system seller for PS5. Yeah, well, Demon's Souls was still a pretty niche game. I mean, even when it came out, it wasn't a failure, but I mean, Demon's Souls was definitely niche. Definitely. The Souls thing did not blow up until Dark Souls. Dark Souls is really what pushed it over the edge. But yes, it is a great point, Chris Bernou. I think that the Demon's Souls remake is going to greatly outsell the original Demon's Souls. It ain't even going to be close. The remake is going to completely dominate the original in sales. So, yeah, it is funny, Chris, how the Souls franchise has become so much stronger than it was back then. Fernando with a really nice comment saying you are doing great as always. Thank you, Fernando. Thank you for all the support, everyone. Yeah, JCat here. Almost impossible for Sony to acquire big Japanese publishers because of the Japanese antitrust laws. Exactly, JCat. That's why I said companies like Capcom and Square Enix I think are extremely unlikely. Not necessarily because of how much they would cost, because I think someone like Microsoft does have the amount of money that they could buy Square Enix or Capcom if they wanted, or Sony. But as you said, JCat, acquiring very large companies in Japan is much more difficult. It's not impossible, but it's much more difficult, right? Basically, from what I understand, and I'm no legal expert, keep this in mind, y'all, I am no legal expert. But from what I understand, basically an acquisition like this, a huge company, a Square Enix, a Capcom, you basically have to prove that that company is in trouble, right? Like that they are in danger, and that an acquisition is like the way to get them out of that. From what I understand, that is the way Japanese law is currently set up for major acquisitions. So a company like Square Enix or Capcom would have to be a company that's in danger, and then, you know, someone could swoop in and buy them. And Square Enix and Capcom are neither one remotely on that trajectory. They're both doing really, really good. So, yeah, JCat, I just don't see it happening. I don't see it happening. Max B saying, I think Microsoft will acquire CD Projekt Red. I think that could have happened right around the time Witcher 3 launched. I think they can't now, Max B. Cyberpunk has inflated CD Projekt's value enormously. I just don't think so. Now, again, not impossible. We just saw Microsoft spend $7 billion, but that's a lot of money. That's a lot. That's a lot, Max. I wouldn't say it's impossible, but I don't think so. I think CD Projekt is too big to be acquired now. I think they're on a trajectory to be just an absolutely massive company. 2 super chats dropping in here right at the end of the chat. We got 3. Oh my goodness, 3 super chats. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Benji with a super chat. Holiday 2021, Sony, PS5, God of War 2, Horizon 2, Microsoft, Series X, S, Halo Infinite plus Starfield, and Nintendo, Switch Pro, Breath of the Wild 2, Metroid Prime 4. Who wins? Wow. Wow. Ooh, that is such a hard question. Well, I think all of them are going to sell great. I'll say PlayStation 5 sells the most out of those 3, though. I think so, yeah. Globally. Just because Switch at that point, I still think it's going to have a huge year in 2021. I mean, huge. I mean, it could even be bigger than 2020. Who knows? But at that point, Switch came out in 2017. So that's, 18, 19, 20, 20. I mean, we're going to be in its 5th year. Put it this way. If Switch in its 5th year outsells PlayStation 5 and Xbox next year, wow, what a freaking trajectory for the Switch. Again, not impossible, but I'm going to say PlayStation 5 next year is the best-selling hardware of holiday. But, I mean, who knows? I could be wrong. I absolutely could be wrong. Forzathon, it seems Western Digital announced PS5 compatible SSDs. Yes, it did. Basically, they announced their very first ones that will work on PlayStation 5. The 1 terabyte is basically the exact same price as the Seagate Xbox One is, right? $229. So if you're gonna upgrade to next gen, like if you're gonna upgrade your next gen SSDs, you're gonna be spending a lot. Now they had a cheaper option. They had a 500 gig one. I think that one was 120 or 150, somewhere around there. So technically you can upgrade the PlayStation 5's SSD for less than what you're going to in the Xbox, but you're also getting less memory. So if you want a 1-for-1 comparison for 1 terabyte of data, you're basically paying the same either way. So yeah, it's going to be expensive. Upgrading your next gen SSDs ain't going to be cheap. Not at all. Kellegram with a super chat. All these super chats pouring in right at the end. JCat asked, given that Xbox... Ooh, thank you for shouting out to JCat here, Kellegram. Very nice of you. JCat is one of, our favorite people here. Given that Xbox has changed their business model, how will we judge who has the biggest market share next gen? Oh, this is interesting. Ooh, fun. Will it be a combination of subscriptions, console, and software sales? Wow, what a fascinating question this is. What a fascinating question. Here's what I'll say, Kellegrim and JCat. It's going to be harder to judge a winner and a loser next gen because, as you mentioned, Microsoft has really shifted their business model. I mean, completely. Do they want to still sell consoles? Yes. But they really want you in their ecosystem. Game Pass. That is one of those things. I'm telling y'all, Game Pass is the future of Microsoft's business. They want to still sell you Xboxes. They don't want Xboxes to just go away. They want to sell you that hardware, but they really want you in Game Pass. So that means if you're on PC, that means if you're on your mobile phone through xCloud, that means if you're on your Xbox. So here's what I'll say. I think that trying to look at the market specifically as in this console sold more units than this console is an archaic way of thinking about things. I don't think that's going to work next gen. I think they're both going to have success, and they're going to have success in different ways. I still think PlayStation 5 hardware is going to outsell Xbox Series X and S hardware. I do think that. I think PlayStation 5 will outsell Xbox globally. But at the same time, you know, Game Pass is going to be driving giant revenue for Microsoft. They're already at 15 million subs. I think they're going to be at 20 million Game Pass subs by the end of the year. And that's just going to go up next year when things like Halo and Starfield hit. So, yeah, I would say a way of looking at the market is changing. Yeah, it's changing. You can't just look at hardware sales. Split End saying GameStop just signed a deal with Microsoft. I missed this. What's the deal? Split End, drop that in the chat. Let me know what the deal is. And thank you for the super chat. Let me know. I'm curious. What's the deal? And then I basically have to get out of here. I'm going to answer Timmer's question, and then I'm going to follow up with what Split End said, and then I got to go to work. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for an amazing chat. I love it. We had a great turnout. It felt good to be back. Thank you for all the super chats. Let me hit Timmer's. Let me follow up on that, and then we're out. Timmer 72299. Do you see more private equity firms investing in game companies after the Zenimax Microsoft deal? Yes. The equity holder in Zenimax has made its money back times 6. Timur, yes. I think you're going to see investment like crazy in general in the gaming space because gaming is on fire, Timur. It is on fire. It ain't going anywhere, especially as you see movies and stuff drying up, right? Movies right now are in very big danger. And, you know, it's not just, so the way movies work, yes, they're funded by the studios, but a lot of money that pays for budget does come from Timor private equity firms or comes from marketing deals with companies that aren't even in the movie space, right? There's some other random company and they pay for endorsement inside the film, so they help pay for marketing and pay for budget. Timor, across the board, I think you're going to see a lot more investment in gaming moving forward. I think it's a medium that is just going to make more and more money. Look at how much money Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft even right now are making right now. They're making tons. So you're going to see private equity invest. You're going to see more and more and more endorsement and marketing deals coming. You already see a bit of this, right? You see stuff like Call of Duty and Halo get Mountain Dew promotions and things like this. I think you're just going to see that continue to go up, continue to grow. Gaming is in a great spot right now, Timur, and there's a lot of money to be made. So yes, absolutely. All right, what was the follow-up on the GameStop deal? What was the follow-up? I got the press email and freaked out. Benji-Sales, it's on Twitter now. Well, I don't think I have time to pull up Twitter. So I got to bounce. I got to get ready for work. I'm supposed to leave my house in 15 minutes, and I still got to shower and stuff. So I apologize, everyone. I'm not going to be able to do a big breakdown on this GameStop deal. I'll research it, and I'll tweet about it on Twitter, and we'll see what's going on. Thank you, everyone, for an amazing chat. Thank you for a great turnout. Thank you for all the super chats. Thank you for everything, everyone, and all the support y'all always give me. Subscribe to my channel. If you're new here, most of y'all seem like familiar faces, people I know and love, but if you are new, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We do 1 to 2 of these chats per week. Follow me on Twitter. If you don't follow me on Twitter yet, I'm at Benji-Sales on Twitter. And like the video, everyone. Give that video some likes. Help this video get discovered. Help the channel get discovered. I'm sorry for anyone's questions I didn't get to, but I got to go to work. So I will see you all on Twitter. I will see y'all on YouTube soon. Stay safe. Play some games, and I will catch y'all soon. Love you, everyone. Have a good one. Peace.